Well, welcome. In this particular video, we're going to be looking at box plots. Now, in the previous lesson, we learned about histograms as one way that we could look at the distribution of data. Well, box plots are another way that we could look at the distribution of data. Um, and as you can see here, that box plots are a relatively new concept. In fact, I don't remember learning about box plots when I was in school. I don't remember seeing this in a textbook, and it wasn't until I started teaching that I started to use and see box plots because they weren't invented until the 1970s by a statistician by the name of John Turkey. Now that's not going to be on a quiz or test, but I just think that's kind of interesting that this is an extremely new kind of math that we're using here. But there's 5 key numbers that we need to use when we're trying to create a box plot. Now the first key numbers are going to be the minimum and the maximum. Now the minimum, obviously that's the smallest number in a set, and the maximum obviously is going to be the largest number in a set. And then we're going to have what's called the different quartiles. We're going to have the first quartile, the second quartile, and the third quartile. Let's start with the second quartile actually. The second quartile is the median of all the data. Now we've already talked about the median, so again it's going to be important to make sure that your data is in order from smallest to largest. And then the middle number, the median, is going to be what we call the second quartile. Now that second quartile basically cuts our data in half. So the first quartile then would be the median of the lower half, and the third quartile would be the median of the upper half. For example, let's look at this set of data. So here we have the numbers that are already arranged for us in order from smallest to largest. And you can see that the minimum value is 61, the maximum value is 94. Now the way that we represent that on our as a box plot is we represent that with these two vertical lines. And the 1 and the 5 refer to the fact that this is the first number here in that list of 5 items, and the 5 is the last item, the maximum. And then we find the median. Well, the median is going to be between these two middle numbers. Well, they both just so happen to be both 77. So the median, the Q2 value, is going to be 77. So what we do is we do another vertical line, and we estimate in this case where 77 would be. And then we say, okay, well now that's cut the data in half. So now I'm going to find the median for this lower half. The median of that lower half is going to be 71. So that's our first quartile, Q1. So we do a vertical line there. And then we look at our upper half and find our median for the upper half. Well, in this case, the median for the upper half is 83. So we do a, vertical line there. Now it's called a box plot. So what we do is we put a box, or create a box using our Q1, Q2, and Q3. And then connect that box to our maximum and minimum values. So that shows our spread of data here. Now the difference between Q3 and Q1, so the difference between our third quartile and our first quartile, is what we call our IQR, or interquartile range. And that IQR is the length of an interval in which we will find the middle 50% of the data. So the middle 50% of our data is between 71 and 70 or 83 here. Inside this box is 50% of the data. And again, it's the length of the rectangle in the box plot is our interquartile range. So let's look at this data set. 29, 36, 37, 38, 40, 43, 45, and so on are the ages of the Best Actor Oscars winners from the year 1997 to the year 2006. And if you notice, these numbers are already in order from smallest to largest. So that's the first thing we need to look for, because we're going to be using the median. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to list out our 5 number summary is what we call this. So we're going to start with our minimum. So our minimum value is obviously the 29. And then we're going to have our maximum, Our maximum is going to be 50. And then we're going to have our Q1. Then we'll have our Q2. And then we'll have our Q3. Okay, let's start with Q2. So remember, Q2 is our median. So if I work my way from the outside in, I will see that I have two middle numbers, 40 and 43. So to find the median of those two, I'm going to find the average of them. So if I add those two up, 40 plus 43 is 83, and half of 83 is 41.5. So my Q2 is 41.5. Now, I'm going to try to find, so 41.5 is right here. So now I'm going to look at that lower half and find the median of our lower half. Well, we can see that the median from our lower half is 37, so that's my Q1. Then we're going to find the median for the upper half. We can see that's going to be 46. So that is our, what we call our 5-number summary. So now, I'm going to create a number line. I want to make sure that my number line is going to include enough numbers for the spread of data. So my smallest number is 29, my largest number is 50. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with 25 and count by fives. Okay, so there we have our number line. So I'm going to start with my minimum. My minimum value is 29, so I'm going to estimate my 29 to be about here. My maximum is 50. And then our Q1 is 37. So our Q1, 35 is here, so I'm going to estimate 37 to be about here. And then 41.5 would be maybe about there. And then 46 stays about there. So now we're using the Q1, Q2, and Q3. I'm going to create my box. And then I use our minimum and maximum values to connect to that box. That would be my box and whisker plot. Sometimes, by the way, sometimes instead of seeing lines here on the end, sometimes the book will use dots for the maximum or minimum value. It doesn't matter to me. Just got to make it clear that that's our lowest and highest point for a spread of data. And this is actually where we're going to stop this first half of this lesson. So we'll just focus in this video on how to find how to create a box and whisker plot. In the next video you're going to watch, that's where we're going to learn about how to find outliers. So why don't you go ahead, if you need to, go ahead and watch that next video.